welcome back to RCC Let's Talk. I'm Kaitlyn, one of the school guidance counsellors, joined by Malcolm, a teacher at our school.
Good morning, everybody.
And Michelle, another of the guidance counsellors on our team.
Hi, everyone.
So today we're going to talk about how to make the most of your school holidays in a way that allows for rest, reset, and still feeling prepared when school returns for term 2. And importantly, this isn't about filling every minute. Holidays should include downtime, but they're also a great opportunity to reset routines, build confidence, and reduce stress for next term. So firstly, why holidays matter more than you think. Before we talk about strategies, it's important to recognise that holidays aren't just time off. They serve a few really important purposes, such as mental recovery from school stress, resetting sleep and energy levels, consolidating learning from the term, and creating space for hobbies, social time, and identity development. Teenagers especially need this reset. The school term can be cognitively and emotionally demanding. So step 1 is this: rest is productive. If the first few days involve sleeping in, relaxing, and switching off, that's not wasted time. That's just recovery.
What might be helpful is finding the balance between rest and structure. Where holidays can become tricky is when there's too much structure or no structure at all. Too much structure can feel like school all over again. No structure can lead to boredom, procrastination, and increased stress when returning. The sweet spot is light structure. This might look like one productive activity per day, flexible sleep and wake times, some social or physical activity, optional short study blocks. The goal is rhythm, not rigidity.
Tip 1, do a reset week. The first few days of holidays are a great time to reset. For students, this might include cleaning out your school bag, or not organising notes or folders, clearing your workspace. This doesn't need to take long. Even an hour or 2 can make a big difference. Why is this helpful? Because clutter, both physical and mental, increases stress. So starting next term, organised, helps reduce overwhelm before it even begins.
Kaitlyn, the first step there, you talked about rest being productive.
Yeah.
This year I'm teaching psychology to the grade 11 students. We've just been talking a little bit about sleep and the importance of sleep. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about what sleep does to your body and why it's so important?
I absolutely can. So sleep, while we did talk about some flexible sleep and wake times, we do kind of want to keep them within an hour or 2 of what our regular sleep routine is. One, it just makes it easier for our brain to stay in that easy sleep routine. But 2, when our brain is going to sleep, it helps consolidate our learning. So it revisits or puts our learning from our short-term memory from that day into our long-term memory. So that's one of the really important things about sleep. Sleep is also important to help our body recuperate and rejuvenate as well. So we want to have nice sleep cycles. So I think sleep cycle usually lasts for about 90 to 120 minutes from the top of my head. Yeah. So we want to have a consistent sleep cycle as well. So we don't want to be waking up because that's when we have extra fatigue creeping in, or a bit of that brain fog that we have also when we wake up.
Yeah, one of the things that I was literally just talking to the kids about yesterday was that at the adolescent age, there's actually a natural progression for young people to go to bed later and wake up later. And that's not a social thing that's going on. That's actually a natural change to the sleep cycle that then they come out of as you hit towards the 20s.
Yeah.
And they were sort of talking about how we interfere with that natural change by setting an alarm at 6:30 every morning and having to come to school at a particular time, and how then sleep-ins on a weekend kind of make up for that a little bit, and that's why our teenagers want to have their sleep-ins on a weekend. So do you think holiday time is a good time to allow a little bit of a sleep-in, or do you think sticking to a regular routine is more important?
I want to say a bit of both. So allowing your body's natural sleep cycle probably for the first week and a half, but you kind of want to readjust it back to the school routine, probably 2, 3, 4 days before you come back to make it a little bit easier for your transition. So you're not just going from Saturday night sleeping at 12 a.m., and then waking up on Sunday at 10 a.m. to then Monday you're needing to wake up at 6. So you want to make it a little bit easier for yourself. So first week and a half, allow that natural sleep cycle or whatever you kind of want to do, and then transition back for a couple of days to make it a bit easier for yourself.
Yeah, otherwise you've got that shock of that 6:30 alarm going off.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Tip 2, keep learning light and short. Holidays don't need to involve heavy studying, but doing small amounts of spaced learning can make returning to school much easier. This might look like 20 to 30 minutes of reviewing notes, practicing a few maths problems, reading for pleasure, or revising flashcards. Research shows that spaced practice, even in short bursts, helps maintain memory and reduces the need for cramming later. For students, this means less stress next term. For parents, it means supporting learning without turning holidays into study camps. A helpful approach is 1 or 2 sessions per week, done earlier in the day and followed by something enjoyable. This keeps learning sustainable.
Yeah, Michelle, would you like to just maybe mention there too that, we are at a P to 12 school, and that might look a little bit different for our older kids compared to our younger kids. So, our year 11s and 12s in particular might have a little bit of a requirement to do more work over the holidays than our younger kids.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in probably the year 11 and 12, their structure looks a little bit different with the assessments that are due when they're due. So being able to keep on top of those and just keeping in touch with what they need to do kind of coming up to term 2 would be helpful. So it probably for most students in 11 and 12, there is a requirement to just touch base with, what they'll be doing next term and maybe complete some assessments during the school holidays, or at least, keep on top of the subject matter that they'll be studying next term.
Yeah, and that can then avoid students coming back feeling like they're behind the 8 ball
Absolutely.
on day 1.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So tip number 3 is focus on well-being and energy. Holidays are a great time to rebuild energy. Things that genuinely help include getting outside, some physical activity, socialising with friends, reducing screen time, and resetting sleep routines. These aren't just nice extras. They can help and directly impact our concentration, our mood, our motivation, and resilience. So for teenagers, confidence often improves when they engage in activities outside of academics. For parents, encouraging balance, not just productivity, supports long-term well-being.
I like that mention there of screen time because I think,
Everyone's favourite holiday topic.
Exactly. We go on holidays. It's like, excellent, now we game all day.
Yeah.
And that can't be good and is going to set a routine that is not effective going back to school next term. So do you have any tips for parents when it comes to, I guess you're definitely going to have more screen time, but how do we limit that to an acceptable amount?
Oh, hitting me with the hard questions today. So definitely screen time limit is important, or introducing regular breaks. And I appreciate gaming in today's modern world doesn't necessarily have a natural start and end point. They're quite often continuous events or games or activities.
Yeah, they're almost designed to hold you rather than let you go at some point. Yeah, absolutely.
And that could be a whole another podcast topic, really, how that's impacted our concentration. But having natural screen time limits, and that's going to look different for everybody. But I would suggest an hour, 2 hours at the most of continuous screen time before having a regular break. You could have a look at a 15-minute break or an hour-long break, but you want to break up that screen time. Same with doom scrolling as well, or like scrolling on TikTok and Instagram. You don't want to be doing that from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. So you want to like break that up as well. So that could even be like organising a catch up with friends in the middle of the day as a natural break from that, or like gaming, if you're gaming with your friends online, and then changing that to meeting up in person and having a connection in person.
Yeah. I must admit, I found with my kids when they were growing up, negotiating screen time was actually really effective. And we used to say to the boys, what do you think is an appropriate amount of time to spend? And we often found that the time that they came back with was less than what we would have suggested. They actually do have a reasonable grasp on what is acceptable. It's just very easy for them to let that get away from them. And so we found negotiating screen time very effective, and we could say, you set that limit and you've reached it, and I think it's time to get off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And getting outside. How good is the weather at the moment? We've come out of our wet season. The skies are blue, and it's a great time to get outside.
Absolutely. And getting outside within like the first 15 to 30 minutes of waking as well helps with our sleep cycles. So watching the sunrise or getting sunlight early in the morning helps build our sleep routine as well, just as a little side note.
Well, I think tip 4 flows quite nicely. Our tip 4 is try something new. So while you are reducing your screen time, you can try something new. School holidays are one of the very few times teenagers can explore interests without academic pressure. This might be learning a new skill, trying a new sport, cooking, creative activities, volunteering, or getting involved in some part-time work. These experiences build independence, confidence, and problem-solving skills. And importantly, they remind teenagers that their identity is far bigger than just school.
Absolutely. So tip number 5, which is our last tip for today, is avoid the last-minute panic. So one of the biggest stresses at the end of the holidays is kind of the sudden realisation that sleep routines might be off, uniforms aren't ready, school bags are nowhere to be seen, school shoes are nowhere to be seen. So a simple strategy is to use the final 2 days as transition days. So this might include adjusting sleep back slightly earlier, checking our school requirements, preparing bags and materials, and reviewing our schedules or timetables. So this gentle transition reduces anxiety for both students and parents. And for parents, this can be a great collaborative opportunity as well. So asking your teenager what they want this next term to feel like, help them identify anything that has caused stress last term and what we might do to make small adjustments to make this term a bit better. So this keeps the conversation supportive and not pressure focused.
I think, Kaitlyn, that is awesome advice for parents. I know exactly what it feels like to be there at 7 o'clock Monday morning looking for things to get ready for school, and the stress that goes with that is ridiculous. So, great tip there to get ready early and reduce that stress so that, your student can go off to school on that Monday morning feeling comfortable, confident and ready for the term.
That's it. We want to start the term low stress, dive in before we get to the pressure and the stress later in the term.
So a note for parents: holidays can sometimes become a point of tension, especially around screen time, sleep, and productivity. One helpful approach is collaborative planning with your child. So instead of setting strict rules, maybe you could try, what would you like your holidays to include? Or ask them, what's one productive thing you'd like to achieve? Or maybe, what would help you feel ready for next term? When teenagers feel involved in the plan, they're more likely to follow through.
Yeah, and I think that follows on from what we said earlier, wasn't it, where you have that negotiation with your child about what's happening, and then there's no surprises. That's
absolutely.
A really good, definitely nice to work with them rather than against them.
Yes, I think if students are given some autonomy, then they feel like, the parent is on their side, and also they're more invested in what's happening for them.
Yeah, and as I said before, sometimes they'll surprise you. They know they don't need to be spending all day on a computer.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that brings us to a tip or a note for students. You don't need to optimize every minute of your holidays. Resting is important, but doing a few small things like organizing, light review, and keeping some routine can make the next term feel much easier. Think of it as making things easier for your future self. So our final takeaways, if you remember just a few things, rest at the start of your holidays is valuable. Light structure helps prevent stress. Well-being activities boost motivation. A gentle transition back to school reduces anxiety. Holidays don't need to be perfect. They just need to leave you feeling a little more refreshed and a little more prepared. Thank you for listening, and I hope your school holidays include a great mix of rest, fun, and just enough preparation to make the next term feel manageable.
Thank you, everybody. I'm definitely looking forward to my holidays.
Me too.